What else did I do? Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to make a quick video about how I feel like I got into med school. I was asked recently about like my journey to med school and just like the things that you should do, you know, to help get you in. So I have a couple of tips, 6 exactly, that I'm going to briefly discuss in this video. So without further ado. Okay, so the first thing that I think is super important in making your way into medical school is just like making sure that you have a genuine interest in medicine, because this journey is not easy. I literally, at least 3 times a week, I'm just like, if I just drop out now and just like become a stripper, twice a month, me and my classmates will just cry, like, and just be like, you know, like this journey is hard. It is mentally exhausting. So you need to make sure that this is for you, because you will not last. Like, I can't stress that enough. So if you are trying to go to medical school because you think that it's a get money quick, you want it for the prestige, or like any of those like superficial reasons,
do not apply to medical school.
Don't even think about coming in this general direction, because you are not the person that I would want as my doctor. There are tons of other ways to make money, because being a doctor is really a servant-hearted career. You are literally being a servant to those who need your help. So having a genuine interest, whether that's through some type of personal experience that you had that led you to becoming a doctor, whether it was like going on a mission trip to become a doctor, whether it was something that you've been wanting to do ever since you were a little kid, you know, you have to have some type of reason as to why you're going into this field in order to, one, be motivated to continue this journey, because this is a super long, and honestly, it's a lifelong journey. If you're in it for the wrong reasons, just turn the other way and just honestly stop this video and like go about your life in the opposite direction, because this is not the direction for you. But if you made it past this step and you have a genuine interest in being a doctor, and you are likable and you have like a personality, and you're like relatable, you're starting off on a good foot. Okay, especially when you go on medical school interviews, they want to see that you're able to talk to people. You know, that's how your patients are going to be. They're going to want their doctor to be relatable. So if you have that, that's really good. So just like that overall, just being likable and having a honest reason as to why you want to go into medicine is something that's super duper important in getting started in this field. All right, number 2, your GPA. Okay, so it's not a surprise that getting into medical school, you want to have a good GPA. Now, disclaimer, you don't have to have a 4.0 to get into medical school. I've had some people email me asking me like what my credentials were in getting into medical school. So when I graduated from Baylor, I went to Baylor for undergrad. I had a like 3.7 or 3.8 overall GPA, and then I had a 3.5-ish, what's the other GPA called? Science. Wow. Now, if you have a GPA that, you know, is like 3.6 and high, 3.5 and higher, and the rest of your application is super strong, then I think you're in a good spot. Like, you know, don't freak out like if your GPA is not a 3.9 or it's not a 4.0. Like, don't let other people at your institution that are pre-med freak you out, okay, and make you feel inadequate about yourself, or discourage you from applying to medical school. Like, my thing is, don't get advice from people who are not in the journey themselves. Okay, so if you are with your friends or whatever, or you have people at your school that are also applying to medical school but they have 4.0s, you don't need to go to them for advice about your application. Yeah, they may have a 4.0, but how's the rest of their application looking? There's a lot of people with 4.0s, 3.9s, 3.8s that apply to medical school and do not get in. Okay, so it is not just your GPA, it is not just your MCAT. There's people who get 530s on the MCAT and still don't get into medical school. Okay, so don't count yourself out. So if you feel like your grades are not, you know, in line, seek advice from people that are in it. Okay, or some of you may want to ask your school counselor. Listen, there's some counselors out there that will literally tell you you're not a doctor, you shouldn't apply to medical school, you're not smart enough to be a doctor. They will literally tell you that, because those are the ones that will discourage you from a dream that you have had, and do not let them do that. Okay, talk to someone that's actually in it, talk to someone that's actually in the trenches in medical school, surviving, okay? It may not have had the best credentials either, and see what they did in order to stand out and get accepted into medical school, okay? I don't think I had the best credentials. I don't, okay? But there were other parts of my application that lifted my application as a whole. If you're one of those people who maybe have a 2 point something or maybe have a lower, like a 3.0, 3.2, 3.3 type of GPA, you may still be fine, but consider doing some type of post-bac program. Consider taking classes or pursuing a master's degree before going into medical school. From my understanding, any type of master's degree would be good, but also if you have a lower GPA, it's good to get a job in the medical field. So, you know, working as a scribe, working as an EMT, something along those lines can also be very helpful just to show that you are serious about becoming a doctor. But if your GPA is kind of on the lower end, I would highly, 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 highly recommend doing a post-bac program. And there's tons out there, so I would definitely take that route rather than just trying to apply to medical school right there. So yeah, that's number 2. Number 3, your MCAT score is important in medical school. If you don't know what the MCAT is the national exam that you take before applying to medical school. So you cannot apply and successfully like matriculate into medical school without the MCAT. That's how it works in the United States. Now, I don't know how it works in Canada and, you know, other places. I have no idea. But for the United States, you need to take the MCAT. Some people study for the MCAT on their own. Some people use a review program. You just got to do what works for you. If you're taking practice MCATs, I would say take as many as you can, like, and simulate the real MCAT. So go to a library, whatever you may do, and like take it on your own, and see how you do. If you're not performing how you want to perform, do something different. Some people, they can just figure it out on their own. They just need the time to study it, and they can do it on their own. That's not me. I need videos and things like that. So just know how you study and go based off of that. What I used to study for the MCAT were the Princeton review books. I thought those were really good, and I also had a course, online course, to help me prepare as well. Personally, my MCAT score was like literally like the bare minimum. So yeah, I was a little nervous about applying to med school, especially coming straight out of undergrad, because I was like, you know, I could have did better on the MCAT, but honestly, I didn't want to retake it. I would say, you know, try to aim for like a 510, 515, 508, you know, something like that. So basically, try to aim for above like a 508 is what's a good MCAT score. But I felt like the other aspects of my application were strong enough that I didn't need to retake the MCAT. So I didn't, and then I'm here. So, you know, it worked out. Not to say that that's going to work out for every single person, because every application is different. But if you are one of those people that may have like a weaker area of your application, but you have stronger areas in other places, I would say pray about it. If you feel led, go ahead and apply. And, you know, it could very well work in your favor. All right. Number 4. Am I on number 4? Sure, whatever. Your extracurricular activities. So by extracurricular activities, I mean volunteering, I mean having leadership positions, being active in organizations at your school. So for me, I volunteered a lot with Blue Bonnet Hospice, which was a organization that basically got to interact with hospice patients. So hospice patients are those that are terminally ill and are basically kind of set to pass away within 6 months. And so then they have the option of going to hospice care, where their mission is to improve their quality of life. So I volunteered for hospice care basically throughout my entire time at Baylor, and I find it interesting because I am not interested in geriatrics at all, but I really enjoyed volunteering in hospice care. So I got to just interact with a bunch of patients, you know, just basically just make their day, you know, like they felt so happy when they would see me come through the door to come visit them, even if they were sleeping or, you know, just sad because like maybe they didn't have family members coming to see them. You know, during holidays, like when I would be gone for a while, like I would go back to Houston, I would get them a card, just to show like how much I appreciate them and like our time that we spend together. And I had a lot of fun doing that, to the point that I became the liaison for Baylor and to hospice care. So what med schools want to see is continuous volunteering with something throughout the years. So med schools don't care that you volunteered that one time at Relay for Life, or those 2 times at, whatever other event that you did your freshman year of college. Like, they don't care. They want to see, I burped. They want to see continuous involvement, because by volunteering continuously with like the same organization or the same, institution or whatever, that shows that you have a servant heart. That shows that you care. That shows that you were willing to take time out of your busy day as an undergraduate pre-medical student and help other people. And that's what they like to see. So that's something that I would recommend. In addition to the whole extracurricular activities thing, I also want to mention having leadership positions in organizations. So, med schools, they don't care much that you were a member of 16 organizations, but they do care about if you were the community service chair for one of those organizations, or if you were the president or the vice president, or, some type of leadership position that shows that you cared, okay? Like, by basically on your application to medical school, like, medical school committees are trying to see that you actually care. Like, that's what your application is trying to show. It's trying to show that you have a passion for medicine, that you're serious about becoming a doctor, and that you actually care. Okay? So if you can showcase those things, have the credentials, of course, they're likely to read your application and likely to invite you for an interview. So if you try to apply to medical school and you have no volunteering, no leadership positions, no involvement in your school, the thing is, they have thousands of other people that have all of those things. So why would they look at your application and invite you for an interview when they have all these people that have done those things? You know what I mean? So that's what you want to look for. Number 5, shadowing. Shadowing is super important. Even as a medical student, I learn almost every day like something new about being a doctor, whether it's like paperwork, charting, doing this outside, going to meetings and all this stuff. I'm just like, that just seems like a lot to me, okay? Shadowing is super important because it shows that you kind of have an idea of what doctors do. You kind of have insight into their lifestyle. You have a little bit of further knowledge that you otherwise would not get from the patient side, when you go and shadow. Because when you shadow, you see, let's say you're shadowing a surgeon, you may see a procedure or something, but you also see the charting that they did behind it, and you see the planning for that surgery. You see different aspects of it. If you're shadowing in the emergency room, you see the high intensity of what they go through. You see the consults that need to be made. You see them putting in orders and this and that and this and that, and how things actually run. So when people say make sure you shadow before med school, it doesn't mean, oh, you're gonna go shadow this family medicine doctor one time for 3 hours and then like that's it. No, it's like shadow, okay, maybe over a summer you shadowed a doctor, okay, and you shadowed them for 5 hours a day or something, or 5 hours 3 times a week, or whatever the case is. Before medical school, for me, I shadowed a child and adolescent psychiatrist, shadowed a pediatrician, shadowed family medicine doctor, and I did those during the summer. So I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes. And make sure you get the most out of your shadowing experience, right? So don't just go shadow the doctor and then you're just like in the corner the whole time and not very engaged, not very curious. Ask questions like when they're in between patients, or when they're in their office, or when they're charting or something, or when it looks like they're, kind of not being pulled in so many different directions. Just ask the doctor, like, if you had to do it all over again, would you choose the same profession? How does your Monday through Friday look like? How often are you able to see your kids, or if they have kids, or, husband, family, whatever, about their patient population, why they chose this hospital, why they chose this state, city. Ask them common cases that they see. So if they're an emergency medicine doctor, ask them what are common things, gunshots. I don't want to get bleak on here, but you know, you get the point. Just be engaged and get the most out of your shadowing experience, because it does nothing for you if you just shadow a doctor and then you don't say anything. Like, ask questions, okay? You can ask questions. Now, don't ask them questions while they're literally talking to a patient. Now, you know, have some discretion, but make the most of your shadowing time, because you'll really be able to learn a lot if you ask questions. And it also shows the doctor that you're serious. And then, number 6, last but not least, your personal statement. That's huge, okay? Med school committees, like med school admission committees, literally read hundreds of personal statements every day, like during the interview process. So if you can make your personal statement stand out, that would be ideal. I can definitely make another YouTube video about how I did my personal statement, how I wrote my personal statement, in a way to make it like interesting, you know, just not the same boring old personal statement that they read every single day. So I can definitely make a separate video on that. Just let me know. But essentially, for my personal statement, make sure you make it interesting. Don't just start off with, you know, I want to be a doctor because. No. Start off with an experience that you may have had that, like, put a light bulb in your head that you want to go to medicine. You know, maybe describe that moment that you thought about pursuing healthcare. You know, maybe describe how it felt when you saw someone that you cared about in the hospital, and describe that feeling, and that's why you wanted to pursue this career path. You know, make it interesting, make it your own, and make it genuine. And that is what they're looking for. So they want to look for that passion, that same passion that they saw throughout your application. They want to see it in your personal statement. Your personal statement is one of the most important things of your application. So you should take that seriously, get it edited and, you know, read by multiple people. If you have a friend, so me, I had a friend who was an English major. The absolute clutch. Like, I mean, I wrote my statement and I even edited, you know, it myself a couple of times. And then I sent it to her and I was like, yeah, ooh. That's my chair. Oh, you can't see it, but like, I have a chair massager. But anywho, so I sent it to her. When I tell you, this girl low-key tore down that whole thing. I mean, not the whole thing, like, I mean, yeah, basically, like, she tore that thing into pieces. And I mean, it was still my same story, my same statement, but she just made it sound so much better. Oh my gosh, like, I mean, just the way in which, like, she made the sentences flow and just make it more inviting to the reader. I was like, oh, I literally went through like 14 drafts of my personal statement before I came up with the final one. So if you're in the process of applying to med school right now, like, you know, the application opens in the summer, I would say, like, make sure you're writing your personal statement like now. Like, don't wait until when the application opens to start writing your personal statement. You already know the question. It's literally why you want to become a doctor. Like, you already know the question. So go ahead and start writing that now and get it edited by people. Like, yeah. And I'll even be nice. And, you know, if you want to send me your personal statement, I will gladly look at that, edit it for you. Okay. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Just want to make it a little short and sweet, because I've gotten questions about, you know, how I think that I got into medical school, with a little bit of the insight that I've had into sitting in admission committee meetings. I don't know if other med schools do that, but my med school kind of gives you the opportunity to do that. When you tour some of the applicants, you can put in your 2 cents of that applicant, and, you know, you sit through an admissions committee meeting. So you literally look at how they do it and what they do. Like, I mean, they will just put up the transcript, resume, personal statement, whatever, of the applicant that they're deciding on if they should give an acceptance to. And I mean, they just go around just talking about how they interview, talking about their credentials, talking about, you know, how their application fits with the mission of the school. And they will literally just vote like yes or no. And it's just crazy. Like, it's just, I remember I was sitting in one of those meetings and I was like, man, like, my name was up there one time. And thank the good Lord Almighty, they voted yes for me. But that is just nerve-wracking. So any insight that I can provide, I am glad to do it. Thanks for watching. Comment below with any questions, comments, whatever you may have, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is right there. All right, guys, see you later.